We're approaching the zenith of the day today, and the sun is in Leo, which means that there's a lot of energy being poured into the heart of the matter. The opening card that we have for today is the Two of Cups. So consider when there's one cup, right? It's as if there's this opportunity for reflection and a new beginning by way of emotional experience. And it opens up vulnerability. But when there's two cups, this is actually signifying a very compatible relationship or compatible exchange. It is one of the more beneficial cards of this tarot system, because we see that these two people are in an equal position of giving and receiving from one another. So this can be bringing up a exchange by way of relationship or partnership, or some reflection that's really nourishing to our experience by way of our emotional world. Now, the challenge that we have showing up today is the same card we had yesterday, so that can be kind of telling. We have the Hermit card, and the Hermit is speaking to the sign of Virgo, and also the planet of Mercury, which governs Virgo. Now, Mercury also governs Gemini, but what's so interesting about this card showing up is that right now, Mercury is actually in Virgo. So wherever you have the sign of Virgo in your natal chart, it's as if there's some new perspective coming in. Now, we have to consider what it means to have a challenge, right? Because in our regular day-to-day life, that word has a meaning of kind of a negative flavor to it. But I want us to consider this a little differently, right? When we're challenged by something, we grow, because it calls something out of us that we wouldn't have necessarily developed if we weren't challenged. So having this card show up in a lot of ways is calling us to task, because the Hermit is the person who climbs the mountain to go on a quest to get a different kind of perspective. But when they get up there, they actually also are carrying a lantern that lights the way for others. So our challenge today is to look at that which we have to offer and what it is in our own inner dialogue that is being overly critical. And perhaps we need to look at it from a different perspective and actually look at what we've gathered on our journey and what we can bring to the table by way of exchange. A way we're going to get through the challenge actually showed up as the 10 of Wands, which is somebody who has a lot to do, right? And granted, if you've been spending some time up on that mountain, just kind of going over things in your mind and poring over things, it's as if we're being called to task right now. There is a lot of things that we have to do, that we are feeling called to do, and we have to get to it, right? Consider that sometimes if you have a really big list, it can be overwhelming. And so it's important for us to do what we can each and every day so that we can tackle that list and to tackle that which is the thing that we have the ability to tackle first and foremost. So if you have one wand and you're like, okay, I have to take care of this today, I have to do this today, I also have this other thing that I have to do, and we're picking up all of these wands, eventually it can be blinding, and we can see that we don't actually see where we're going because we're just overwhelmed, right? It's almost like there's this crystallized aspect to our nature that's like, I just have to do. I have to do this, 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 I have to do this. And if all we're doing is talking about all the things that we have to do, then we're not getting very much done. Right? I had this flash when I was in college, and I was like, I have to write this thesis paper, and I have this test, and I have all these things. And then I realized I was spending my time talking about all the things that I had to do, and I wasn't actually accomplishing very much. So we have to be able to set one thing down at a time and also see if all of these wands that we've been carrying and weighing ourselves down with are actually essential and are necessary, because it's quite likely that some of those things that we're carrying can be set down. So the ultimate outcome that we have for the day came in as the Wheel of Fortune. This is the second most positive and beneficial card of the Tarot system. The Two of Cups was actually the third, or I wouldn't say it's the third. The Six of Cups is actually a third, but the Two of Cups is also a really beneficial card. The Wheel of Fortune speaks to an interesting energy, and I want to bring up the drawings that are in this card because of the coincidental factor that's being brought to play. So in this card, we see these 4 different creatures in each of the corners, and it's actually pretty interesting because each of these represent one of the fixed signs, right? We have the fixed Earth, which is Taurus, which is where we have Uranus and Mars and the North Node right now. We have fixed Fire, which is Leo, which is where we have the Sun. We have fixed Water, which is Scorpio, which is where we have the South Node right now. And then we also have fixed Air, represented by this person drawn up in the corner, which represents Aquarius, which is where we have Saturn right now in retrograde. And fixed signs by nature are very hard to move, right? Because what do I mean by fixed? Well, there's this trinity of energy that is displayed in the zodiac system that is also paired with the elements. So we have active, right, which would be like the plus sign. We have passive, which would be like the receptive or negative symbol in electrons. And then we have neutral, which is considered the mutable sign, that which it can kind of move within something. It's not a specific direction of like moving forward, right? Cardinal energy versus fixed energy versus mutable energy. We have these 3 energies and they are paired with an element, which is where we get, you know, cardinal fire, which would be, for instance, Aries, which is where we have Jupiter sitting right now. And Jupiter is a planet that brings in expansion, right? And so if you're fixed and certain in some way, or you have a lot of planets in fixed signs in your natal chart, there is something that is expanding and forcing you to move. It's forcing you to reevaluate things and forcing you to step into something that you've been thinking about for some time. And it's quite likely that we are starting to see that there is support and encouragement with that. And so what this card is reminding us to do is to take advantage of opportunity, right? If there's expansion and there's a shift, rather than being like, oh my gosh, everything shifted and changed. Oh my God, but I was going to do this. Move with it, right? Because things are meant to move. Even the earth moves, water moves, fire moves, and air moves. And when it's fixed, it's not necessarily realizing its potential. And so we have this expansive quality that's highlighting a big shift and a big change that is coming in, and it's encouraging us to take advantage of it. So I pulled an additional card for us because I do that sometimes. And we got the 9 of Pentacles. So this is the Lady of Leisure. She's kind of separating herself from the outer world, but she's working on completing some project and some idea that she's been brewing for some time, right? Because we see these 9 pentacles, which is a number of completion before we go to the next evolution of a thing, which would be the 10, which actually reduces to a 1, which is a new beginning. So the number 9 is really the ultimate number when it comes to completing a project. And Pentacles are speaking to our resources, our values, our beliefs, and things of a material nature. And so there's this big shift that's happening right now. And interestingly enough, Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, which is expanding our idea of self and what motivates us and what brings us out in the world. So I am really encouraged and interested in seeing the projects and things that my friends in my community have been wanting to put their energy and effort to, and seeing that come to some kind of completion so that they actually can bring it into the world. Because I think that is why our dear Hermit keeps showing up as our challenge. We have to be willing to give ourselves some range if we've been overly critical, and actually take in the feedback that people are bringing into our lives that is ultimately encouraging us to step forward into the next chapter. So, interesting stuff indeed. I send you all a good wish, and I hope you enjoy a lovely day. If you are interested in a reading, feel free to reach out to me and we will schedule some time. Bye for now.